Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are wrapping up the 7th section of my civic engagement curriculum on self-care and self-worth by focusing on the 20th topic that gives a call to action to use your political power. I want to begin with a story. Right after the 2024 presidential election, my local community had some mixed emotions. Some people were celebrating, some were disappointed, and others felt anxious, frustrated, or even angry. Some of these feelings can usually pop up after certain elections, but for 2024, it felt unique because there were some community discussion events that occurred in my area. They happened at a local college, community centers, and other spaces where people gathered just to process how they felt and figure out what comes next with the United States. I went to some of these meetings, and what struck me was the range of emotions. While people felt hopeless, there were a few voices that stood out. These were people who reminded us that we cannot give up the political power we have as citizens to make positive changes. To be clear, they did not sugarcoat things. They acknowledged the disappointment, but they also said that this is the moment to stand together, support all of our communities, and keep showing up for democracy. For me, those meetings were powerful reminders of our self-worth. They showed me that we do not have to process big political moments alone, and that even when things do not go our way, our ability to make change does not disappear. That is the call to action of this video: to rise up, use our voices, and protect and transform our democracy. At the same time, I understand that not every community has the benefit of having those community discussion events to process their feelings and be reminded to stay hopeful. In fact, without being surrounded by encouraging people and not being reminded of their capability to make positive change, many people do not believe they have any political power at all. Some of that comes from the outside: politicians, wealthy donors, or media narratives that make us feel small. But the most concerning part is that when we start believing it ourselves. When you tell yourself, my voice does not matter, you hold yourself back. You stop voting, stop organizing, and stop imagining solutions. And when that happens, we lose not just political power, but also lose our sense of self-worth. Part of why this happens is because of the way power works in politics. Money has a huge influence, where wealthy donors and corporations often have the loudest voices in setting the political agenda. Add on things like gerrymandering and voter suppression laws, and it is easy to feel like the system is not working for us. But let's remember that throughout history, people have still fought back, organized, and won important victories to improve society. That is why we still have a democracy to defend today, and we can do it together. So what exactly is political power? To start off, power is the ability to get people to do what you want. Political power is the ability to get the government and society to move in a direction that reflects your values and needs. That does not only happen in Congress or the White House. Political power exists anywhere people influence decisions, such as in schools, businesses, churches, neighborhood associations, advocacy groups, and more. And here's an important thing to remember: you already have political power. Every time you vote, organize, speak up, or even choose where to spend your money, you are exercising it. But if you do not use your power, someone else will happily use it for you, often against your interests. That is why silence can be so dangerous when you do not let people know how we should function as a society. Even one loud voice can misrepresent an entire community if nobody else speaks up. To understand how power works, let's look at the 3 laws of power from Eric Liu's book, You're More Powerful Than You Think: A Citizen's Guide to Making Change Happen. Law 1, power concentrates. This is where power feeds on itself. The wealthy and well-connected tend to accumulate more resources, influence laws, and grow even stronger. Meanwhile, others get left behind if they do not have the same level of resources and influence. Law 2, power justifies itself. This is where people with power create stories to explain why they deserve it. Think about the narrative that wealthy people are just smarter or worked harder. That story convinces many everyday people to defend systems that actually harm them. Law 3, power is infinite. Here is the most important one, and where the realization comes in. Power is not a zero-sum game. This means power is not limited to specific groups of people. In fact, power is for everyone, and it is unlimited. We can create new power by organizing, mobilizing, and reimagining what is possible. Your creativity, your community, and your willingness to act are unlimited powers. When we remember that power is infinite, we stop feeling small and start seeing ourselves as change makers. So why should you use your political power? Let's break it down into 3 reasons. 1, to show your good character. Your power should reflect your values such as generosity, compassion, justice, service, etc. Power without character can corrupt you, but power rooted in values builds trust and community. 2, to include more people in the political process. Real change is inclusive, so when you use your power to help others see their power, you grow the collective strength of your community. 3, to celebrate community wins as your wins. Any win for your community is a win for you. Whether it is safer streets, cleaner air, or better schools, your community's progress is your progress too. With all of this in mind, let's talk about how to practice your political power. First things first, you need to determine where you want to begin using your political power. Every environment has its own structure, such as its size, culture, and issues. Understanding that structure is important. You also want to ask yourself what source of power you already have, what sources you need to build, and if you're working to improve the existing system or replace it with something else that you think is better. Once you have chosen your issue, it is time to shape the story around it. This is about deciding how broad or narrow you want the fight to be. By broadening or narrowing an issue, you decide how people see it and who stands with you. Let's talk about rules. Power often hides inside the rules that govern the decision-making process. Some rules decide what even gets discussed, while others give unfair advantages to the wealthy and privileged. 2 types of rules matter the most. 1 is the agenda-setting rules on what is on and off the table, and 2 is the rent-seeking rules on rules that give unearned and continuous advantages and benefits to certain privileged people. To change both of them, there must be more transparency and attention, where you have to see them and want to see them respectfully. For transparency, look at who holds authority formally, like elected officials, or informally, like aides or lobbyists whispering in their ears. For attention, look at what is said in public agendas and what is left unsaid. And then call it out. Do not just say everything is unfair in the system. Show exactly how that is the case, who benefits, and what solutions exist to fix it. The point is that when you understand how decisions are made and who benefits from unfair rules, you gain the power to challenge them. Let's talk about facing opposition. When you challenge your opponent's plan, you do not want to have them set the terms because you will be shut out quicker than you will think. You want to set the terms by paralyzing, bypassing, and undermining their strategy instead. Let's break each of them down. 1, you can paralyze them. This means you can maneuver your way around your opponent's strategy to get what you want. For example, if your opponent is saying that a proposed policy idea could have a negative effect on society, you can reframe that argument by talking about how the idea can actually improve society. This allows you to bring new arguments that allow you to set the tone of the conversation. 2, you can bypass them. This means to not fight on your opponent's turf, where they have the tools stacked for them and against you. You would need to take the fight away from the opponent's controlled environment and put it in a space where you have a high chance of winning it. For example, suppose you want a new law for your state, but you know there are not enough state legislators to support your idea. However, you know it polls well with enough people in your state, so you can mobilize enough people to get your idea put on a ballot referendum so the voters can vote on it in the next election to be enshrined in your state's constitution. This shows that you can bring your idea away from an environment, the legislature, where you know it will have a difficult time passing, and bring it to the voters through a ballot referendum where the voters can directly vote on this and increase your chances of making this part of your state's constitution. 3, you can undermine them. This is where you have intentional and well-coordinated movements that organize disenfranchised groups of people and direct the movements towards changing the system that puts those people in the place they are in now. This is about gathering people together to act in a way that disrupts the dominant powers, plans, and methods for how they set the rules for a society. You have to make sure you go to the source and make your voices heard to disrupt someone's power. For example, if a state legislature is coming up with legislation that you believe is wrong and will negatively affect a specific group of people, you and that group of people can gather at that state capitol to not only make your voices heard, but explain to the public why the state legislature is not being considerate of the group and how important it is to address the needs of the group of people. This shows you are demonstrating to the lawmakers what the consequences of their actions will be if they vote on legislation that harms the groups of people, not from a faraway distance, but right in the place where they convene to vote. Another way to practice your political power is to use it to present new ways for society to operate. For this part, you want to describe new ways of allocating power to people, which is important for expanding the public sense of what power should look like to them and how it should be normal for power to be inclusive and infinite to everyone else. As we talked about in the second law of power, many people justify having power concentrated into the rich and wealthy people and think it is normal for them to control things for us. However, your job here is to change the perspective by saying it is not normal for one specific group of individuals to have so much power and not let the rest of us influence how our society operates. Here are some ways you can present new ways for society to operate. 1, reframe the conversation to strategically shift perspectives that focus on the big picture and expose hidden inequalities on certain issues. For example, you can ask questions that make us analyze the history, legacy, and persistence of inequities for specific demographic groups and how we can do a better job of valuing them so everyone has a great overall quality of life. 2, when you want to change a perception that justifies current structures of power and privilege, you must present innovative goals and specific steps that the public has not heard about before to make that happen. For example, if you believe the dominant perception about a certain issue is missing a point about something, you can present a new point of view that outlines how we should be handling that issue and why that is better than the old perception. 3, when you work on changing the old normal into a new normal, explain how the new normal will make more people succeed in their lives. For example, most people have to live by what is currently set up in our institutions, but if you believe we can have a new way of doing things that still keeps people secure, or even better, thrive more under your new plan, you can inform people about this and convince them to go along with your idea while guiding them at the same time. The last thing you could do to practice your political power is to act powerful, which can make us become powerful. Confidence is where you act like you know what you are doing and you are willing to try different avenues to exert your political power. You act powerful by believing you deserve the political power you have right now and you do not want it to be taken away from you. This does not mean faking it, but instead means stepping into the role you already deserve by speaking like you belong at the table, pushing for your community's interests, and creating space for others to be heard. The only thing that can stop you from using your political power is you. To be clear, there are going to be attempts by bad actors to try to stop you from using your political power, and I believe there should be no barriers to prevent you from being civically engaged. But here is the most important thing to remember. Just because they try to stop you, it does not mean you have to fully give up your political power and admit defeat. If powerful people try to silence or discredit you, it is because they know you have power to make positive change. Nobody wastes time on someone without power. As a society, we have to persevere through any attempts bad actors put up and not let them take all your political power away from you. The one thing that is truly stopping bad actors from taking away your political power is you saying no to them. The moment you surrender all of your political power and do not believe in a democracy anymore will severely limit you from making positive changes in society. So, maintain all the political power you have because the future depends on you using that power. And as you continue to use it, you will become more powerful because you do not want anyone taking it away from you. This concludes the 7th section of my civic engagement curriculum on self-care and self-worth. The next video will provide a conclusion of my set of videos that provided an overview of my curriculum. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn on those post notifications so you will be notified when I post my next video, and share this video with people so everyone knows how to practice their political power and why it is important to use it. I appreciate your support. Remember, you are powerful, you are capable, and you are the change maker our society needs. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you soon.